Hello my Salty friends, this is Stephanie from Salty News Network and I'm back with another review. So here at Salty, we have reviewed many ASUS laptops before, including the ROG gaming range, the ultra portable ZenBook range, as well as the VivoBook productivity series of laptops. But today, we're going to take a look at something rather different. So this is ASUS' first entry into the professional workstation market. This is the ProArt StudioBook series of laptops. So the unit that we have on hand today is the ASUS ProArt StudioBook Pro X W730G. But do bear in mind that our unit is a Taiwanese media review unit, and as such, the specs inside will vary from the local retail units. As this has a non-standard configuration, there is no price tag attached to this particular unit. With that in mind, we won't be diving too deep into the benchmarks and performance of this laptop. Rather, we'll be taking a look at the package as a whole, as well as the features that make it unique. Though it's marketed as style grey with rose gold accents, the StudioBook Pro X looks much less exciting than it sounds. That's not to say it's not decent looking though. The brushed metal surface definitely looks very professional and the rose gold accents give it a subtle touch of luxe. As sophisticated as it looks, this thing can take a decent amount of abuse thanks to its military standard certification. This means it can tolerate shocks, drops, and various temperature and humidity conditions. Another standout feature is the 4-sided nano-edge display, which allows for a 16:10 ratio, providing 17 inches of screen real estate within a 15-inch form factor. This means you get more screen with less size, which is definitely a boon for creators on the go. The tallness of the 16:10 ratio took some getting used to, but it's great once you get past it. As a laptop designed for creators, it understandably has a modest refresh rate of just 60 Hz. What makes it great is that it is Pantone validated with 97% DCI-P3 coverage and Delta E less than 1.5 color accuracy. Professional standards are usually Delta E less than 2, so you know that the StudioBook Pro X will definitely deliver on that aspect. One disappointing thing, however, is that there's no option to upgrade to a 4K display from the standard Full HD that it comes with. It folds flat though, so there's that. Oh, and ASUS managed to fit a webcam up here despite its ultra slim bezels, though it does not support facial recognition. But don't worry, there's also a fingerprint sensor located to the right of the touchpad, so you can just use that. Now, the first thing that you'll notice when you power it on is undoubtedly the ASUS ScreenPad 2.0. Unlike your vanilla touchpads or the ASUS number pad, the ScreenPad 2.0 is a fully functioning touchscreen display. It has a ton of features, including the aforementioned number pad, handwriting recognition, an app navigator, task groups, and more. However, when not using a mouse, I prefer to turn it off because the cursor will travel between the two screens in touchpad mode, which can get super annoying when trying to open up a program from the taskbar. As I'm not the target audience for this laptop, I found myself using it to display my Spotify playlist most of the time. I know, somewhere across the ocean, ASUS product engineers are crying, and I'm sorry. Of course, it also eats up more battery when it's turned on all the time. One good thing is that you can adjust the resolution and refresh rate of the touchpad, which is handy if you want a crystal clear display to use as image references while digital painting, for example. I can envision content creators making great use of this display, but as a boring old writer, I find it way too small to be referencing articles from, hence its use as a glorified music player. So, one of the big sells of this thing is that it's running an NVIDIA Quadro GPU which supports ECC memory, which is a type of data storage which detects and corrects the most common types of internal data corruption. This is especially useful for people working with sensitive data, like engineers or very rich art students working on the only copy of their final year project. Back that shit up, kids. The Malaysian version of the StudioBook Pro X is equipped with an insanely powerful Quadro RTX 5000 with 16GB of GDDR6 VRAM. But unfortunately, our version only has the rather paltry Quadro T1000 with 4GB of GDDR5 VRAM. Anyway, if you're buying a local retail unit, you can expect to have massive performance with ray tracing capabilities courtesy of RTX. However, this is probably one of the things that contributes to the hefty size of the StudioBook Pro X. It's a bit of a chunker in terms of thickness and it weighs 2.5 kg, which is a little bit more than I'm used to. Another good thing for creators is the full range of I/O ports, including an SD card reader and 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports that support DisplayPort 1.4 up to 40 Gbps. On top of that, it has a generous 3 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-A ports, a HDMI 2.0 port, an RJ45 Ethernet port, a 3.5mm audio combo jack, and of course, a Kensington lock so your colleague won't walk away with your 24,000 ringgit laptop. Yes, that is what the local retail unit is priced at. One perk of having such a thick chassis is the ability to accommodate a deep keyboard, which I personally prefer. None of the shallow chiclet bullshit here. This is straight up a deep travel keyboard that feels good to type on. The keyboard layout is great, and while the full-size arrow keys are somewhat nested into the main cluster, you can easily tell them apart due to the different texture on its keycaps. There are 3 brightness levels to choose from, and while they were decently bright, there was some light bleeding around the edges, which is especially noticeable on the top row due to the angle you're sitting. The function keys also have a ton of handy shortcuts, including toggling the screen pad between full functionality, touchpad only, and off mode. The presence of a full-size numpad is also a blessing for those who work with numbers, though it does make the digital option on the screen pad redundant. This non-standard review unit on hand comes with a 63 Wh battery as opposed to the substantially larger 95 Wh battery on the local retail units. I tested it on Battery Eater using Classic mode, which simulates creative tasks on a loop, and Reader mode, which simulates more casual tasks such as web browsing. On the former, it lasted slightly over 2 hours, whereas on Reader mode, it lasted a total of 7 hours. Of course, in real-world usage, it will be somewhere between the two, so your mileage may vary. The power brick is a pretty standard size and weight for these kinds of laptops, though it does have a rather fancy textured finish. Opening it up, you see 2 large fans supported by generous vents on the bottom, top and back of the laptop, along with 3 heat pipes. From our limited testing, temperatures remain within comfortable range. Our unit comes equipped with 32GB of RAM, but there's 2 more slots to upgrade to 64GB of ECC RAM if desired. There's also an extra M.2 slot for expandable storage. Design-wise, the ProArt StudioBook Pro X has a ton to offer. RTX Quadro graphics, support for ECC memory, a color-accurate 17-inch screen that fits within a 15-inch chassis, comprehensive I/O ports, and of course, the ScreenPad 2.0, which opens up a whole slew of opportunities for creators. Clearly, this is a machine purpose-built for a very specific audience in mind. So, if you're a designer, animator, engineer, or creator who's looking for a stable workstation with multitasking potential, the ProArt StudioBook Pro X is a very good choice from ASUS. Unfortunately, we are unable to comment on the price to performance value of this thing due to the reasons mentioned many times above. For reference, the Malaysian retail unit comes with an Intel Xeon E2276M processor, NVIDIA Quadro RTX 5000 graphics, 1TB of PCIe SSD storage, and retails for 23,999 ringgit. For the full specs list, you can check out the link in the description below. And that's it for my review video on the ASUS ProArt StudioBook Pro X. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. This is Steph from SNN signing off.